A Republican governor hopeful and a Democratic incumbent are touring the state in the last legs of their campaigns. With Election Day right around the corner, NBC 15's Michelle Beck reports what messages the two candidates have for voters.
Let's start here in the small town of Theresa, where Tim Michaels is centering this event around law enforcement, though public safety isn't the only topic to gain applause.
The three things I'm going to do: lower taxes, better schools, less crime. Let them know that it's time for new leadership.
Backed by dozens of supporters Monday, Republican Tim Michaels is moving to take over the governor's mansion, criticizing Democrat incumbent Tony Evers as weak on crime.
We're going to have strong leadership that's going to stand with law enforcement and get rid of the weak DAs.
At the Pioneer Keg in Theresa, Michaels earned the endorsements of the Wisconsin Fraternal Order of Police, as well as the State Trooper and Milwaukee Police Associations. This as just 8 days are left until Election Day.
There's very, very few undecideds left, but we believe that they're all going to come our way. Why? If they haven't sided with Tony Evers over the last 4 years, what are they waiting for?
Meanwhile, Governor Evers says he had a good start the last 4 years. Earlier Monday, he stopped at UW-Platteville.
My issues in this campaign are really straightforward and they're common sense issues. You know, whether it's our public schools, whether it's University of Wisconsin system, making sure we have good infrastructure, broadband.
He includes reproductive health and climate change to that list. As far as the way he sees crime, local support is what matters.
If the legislature had provided more resources for our local communities, our counties and municipalities, they're the ones that, deal with this stuff on a regular basis.
Monday is day 5 for Governor Evers in his statewide tour. His campaign says he's going around to communities to tout his record. That includes cutting income taxes by 15% and fixing up nearly 5,000 miles of roads. In Theresa, Michelle Beck, NBC 15 News.